Hey, good morning, everybody. We're in Luke chapter 23, and today we are looking at the trial of Jesus. And when we look at the four gospel writers and sort of compile the composite of Jesus' trial, we find out that Jesus' trial was one trial with 6 parts. There was 3 religious parts and 3 parts that you might call them civil. And we just finished the last religious part at the end of chapter 22 of Luke. And now we're moving into the part which involves Pontius Pilate. Pilate was the Roman governor, and he lived in actually a place called Caesarea, which was about 100 miles away on the northern shore of the Mediterranean in northern Israel. But Pilate was in Jerusalem at this particular time because it was the Passover, and his main job was to keep the peace in Jerusalem. And so the leaders now, the Jewish leaders that is, brought Jesus to Pilate, and because he was the only one who could civilly impose the death penalty. And so now they have to redirect, they have to reform their arguments, because they've been arguing from a religious standpoint, and now they need to argue from a civil one for Pilate to act. Their goal was to paint Jesus as a rebel who was a threat to Rome. He wanted a threat to overthrow the government. And so we pick up in chapter 22, and we're looking at verse 2. It says, "They begin to state their case. This man has been leading our people astray by telling them not to pay their taxes to the Roman government, and by claiming he is the Messiah, a king." So Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "You have said it." Pilate turned to the leading priests and to the crowd and said, "I find nothing wrong with this man." Then they became insistent. "But because he is causing riots by his teaching wherever he goes, all over Judea and Galilee and to Jerusalem." Pilate saw right away that Jesus was not a political rebel, and he did not want to overthrow the government. That wasn't his agenda. But Pilate is very much afraid of the religious leaders. His main goal, as I said, was to keep the peace. And if the religious leaders instigated a riot and caused lots of trouble, Pilate could be out of a job. So Pilate was actually in a jam. But Pilate, when he heard that Jesus is from the region of Galilee, he uses his crafty politician hat, and he realizes that Jesus is not his problem, because he's not the governor of Galilee. The governor of Galilee is a man by the name of Herod Antipas. So Luke tells us that Pilate orders Jesus to be sent to Herod. Now, we find out that Herod was actually very excited to see Jesus. He'd heard about Jesus' miracles. And in fact, maybe he could get Jesus to do a demonstration on the spot for him. But Jesus chose not to perform for him. In fact, Jesus didn't even answer his question. So when Herod became bored with him and stopped toying with him, he sent him back to Pilate. And we pick up in verse 11. It says, Then Herod and his soldiers began mocking and ridiculing Jesus. Finally, they put a royal robe on him and sent him back to Pilate. Now, one of the things that we notice about Jesus is, as he goes through all the 6 parts of his trial, how calm he is. He is falsely accused, he is insulted, he's ridiculed, he's mocked, and yet his answers are very straightforward and very truthful. He never reverses his answers. But Pilate had a real dilemma. In a way, it seems like Pilate was actually the one on trial, doesn't it? He knew that Jesus was innocent, but to appease the Jewish leaders and to hold his job, he told the soldiers to beat Jesus with a whip. And that didn't even satisfy him. Finally, he gave Jesus over to be crucified. He was more worried about his job than doing the right thing. The trial culminates with Pilate. Remember the story, he symbolically washed his hands. Rather than doing the right thing, he did what was convenient, most self-serving. So the question is, how do we make decisions? How do we make our best decisions in a crisis? God wants to help us make the best decisions possible, the ones that lead to life. And I remember some filters that help me go through when I'm making decisions. Is this something that is is this decision made with character and not about comfort? The question we ask is, who are we when nobody's looking? Second thing, is it about courage and not fear? We don't have to fear when we walk with Jesus. We're never alone when we walk with Jesus. Be strong and courageous. Don't worry or be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go, the book of Joshua tells us. And finally, do we want to please Christ or the crowd? Do we want to do the right thing, which is often the sacrificial thing and not the most popular thing? So today, we have the opportunity to make choices, and every day we have the opportunity to make choices. Are they going to be pleasing to God, pleasing to Jesus? Do we choose character over comfort? Do we choose courage over fear? And do we choose Christ over the crowd? Have an amazing day, and may you walk with Jesus today.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.